Good morning. My name is Michael. I run Champignons. Me and my two brothers, we operate a mushroom business out of San Antonio, and it's been a pretty long journey. And so, kind of a little bit about us. I started growing mushrooms like 5 years ago, and I originally started doing it just as kind of a personal hobby. Pretty quickly, I got really into it. Just seeing how fast mushrooms can grow was really exhilarating for me. I don't have the patience sometimes to wait for my plants to grow. I love gardening, but mushrooms just gave me a different type of instant gratification. And then after a while, talking to my brothers and stuff and making the vision a reality, we started Champignons January last year. January last year, we were at a point where we had 2 pressure cookers, no grow tent, a couple shelves, and one little tiny 10 by 10 room to do everything in. Now at this point, 2025, what is it, February, March, we have, what is this, like a 20 by 10 or 20 by 15 room, our whole sunroom converted into our growing operation. We've got 150 liter autoclave, a 10 by 5 grow tent. So we've really kind of ramped up. From where we were to where we are is a big difference. But I'm just going to kind of show you what we do. So again, we're Champignons. We grow gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. Lots of different varieties, over 20 varieties we have in our liquid culture selection. So let's kind of start there. As far as liquid cultures, we keep a whole second fridge for them because we have so many. As you can see right here, we'll kind of start with the newest ones. So right here, we've got, what is that, 3, 6, 9, 12, 14 varieties that are new to us. Everything from late oyster. All of these ones came from the Mycelium Emporium, by the way. All of these ones here. We've got everything from late oyster to pink oyster. We've got tear tooth. So this is a different type of hericium mushroom, like a lion's mane. Italian oyster, piopinos, the chestnuts, different enoki. So we got a bunch of new things that the liquid cultures are thriving. We've already started some grain spawn bags of them. So here in the next couple months, we're gonna start seeing the fruits of these new strains, new to us strains. Moving on into the fridge, we have a lot. Up top, we've got our fresh mushrooms that we've harvested recently. We've got our lion's mane that we harvested yesterday. More lion's mane. More lion's mane. Back in the back, we've got some bear's head behind there, coral tooth behind that one. So we just harvested like 10 pounds yesterday. As far as the liquid cultures go, they're even on the door. We've got like 18 varieties in here, and some of these, like this one was my first reishi. This one goes back to 2024, or not 2020. It's so faded, it's almost not legible anymore. Our original lion's mane, the OG lion's mane, is way back in the back. I just used it the other day. That one is 4 years old, still going strong. I have new lion's mane cultures, but frankly, the original one that's 4 years old, it's been in the fridge this whole time, is still going really strong. As you can see, we've got some really aggressive liquid culture. I mean, it's got this really thick mycelium mat at the top, and some of them even, like we can see this coral tooth, it's trying to fruit out from the sides of the jar. We used to do, so this is a reishi as well. So we used to do corn syrup. I like it. It's a nice clear liquid culture when we do corn syrup. You know, this one's an antler reishi. Nice and clear. I do like that. But I learned, for me, that doing, like this one is a dried malt extract liquid culture, and we can even see the fruits up on there. I found the dried malt extract liquid culture performs much better for us. The culture is just stronger, it grows faster. Yes, it's darker, and we do get cloudiness from some of the sediment that can be created from the malt extract. But all in all, it's the only kind that I make anymore. I don't do corn syrup anymore for that reason alone. It's also easier to measure out. It's easier to store. I don't have to deal with sticky corn syrup. So that's why I do that. So then moving on from liquid cultures, you know, we get into our grain spawns. How do we do our grain? We do millet. We only do millet. Why? Because millet is uniform. It's very uniform. It's highly nutritious. And in my opinion, it has the best ability for soaking, packaging. It just seems to be the easiest for me. I've tried different grains, and I really don't like the different sizes and shapes of the different grains. I think that the uniformity of the millet is integral to the actual colonization process. I think it's really, really important for that mycelium to have nice, even grains to move from grain to grain. They also pack tighter. Now, downsides of millet, it is more expensive. It's harder to find. And it can be more nutritious than other grains. In my opinion, you can have more contamination with millet, just due to the fact that it's more nutritious. Everything wants to grow on millet, and that's why millet's the best to grow on. But it's also the best for contaminants to grow on. So you really have to get good with your soaking and your sterilizing if you're going to be going the millet route. So as far as grain spawns, we usually keep them in the dark. We don't do crazy dark. We have our lamp right here, and they just kind of sit in the corner out of the way. So it's not in full darkness. And we don't really mess with the temperature too much, trying to separate the temperatures for our grain spawn and our substrate bags that are colonizing, and our grow tent. Everything is pretty much the temperature of this sunroom, which is pretty much the temperature of the house. We do have a window unit that we run when needed to supplement that. So moving on though from grain spawn, now we're moving into substrates. As far as substrates go, we do master's mix. So we mostly do 2.5 kilogram master's mix bags, and then we'll add about 0.5 kilogram of grain spawn into one of those bags. That's what we do for our growing in-house. We do try out some different varieties. We do produce like cocoa coir mixes for those dung lovers. We do produce some manure mixes as well. And then even with our master's mix, we experiment with doing soy with the hardwood pellets. We also do wood chips, hard wood chips, that we sift and grind to make into a finer consistency. So, and we get mixed results from the pellets versus the fresh wood. In my opinion, actually, the fresh wood may be working better than the hardwood pellets, and it's cheaper. So it does require more work. We have to sift it, we have to re-mulch it, we have to run it through a mulcher to make it finer, and then we have to store. Right now we've got 1.5 tons of hardwood chips outside that we've got stored just exclusively to be used for this master's mix. Moving on to our fruiting bags. So when we get to our fruiting bags, most of what we do is doing grain to substrate transfers. So we'll actually transfer about a third or quarter of this bag into one of these master's mix bags. And so we'll get like 4 fruiting blocks out of this one grain spawn. This is a antler reishi. What do we got here? Nebradensis. That being said, we do a lot of different sizes of grain spawn, really based on what's going on that day. How much did we soak the night before? How accurate was I with my math as far as dividing up the weight for the bags and predicting the soaked weight of the grain? So, we do anything from like 3.5 kilogram grain spawn bags all the way down to 1 kilogram. We even do we've experimented with some of these smaller grain spawn bags. I really like them for the convenience. I don't really like them for the cost. They cost just as much as the full size grow bags, and obviously they only hold like a quarter of the amount. So financially not viable. Time-wise, it's very helpful. So right here we've got a shiitake. We've got a bunch of shiitakes. These ones have all been grained to spawn to substrate transfers. Right here we've got a different example of shiitake. So this one, actually, you can see the injection port. We do full ready to grow bags as well, where we do the substrate and the millet mixed together, or we'll do layered with our substrate at the bottom and then our grain at the top. And so we do those mainly for convenience and for ready to grow kits for individuals who want to grow at home but don't want to deal with any of the transferring grain or resealing bags or any of that stuff. So we find a lot of success with that as far as like the garden centers and things like that. People really seem to enjoy those. As far as using them for growing for us, we use them when they get like this one, this enoki right here. We did do a full ready to grow bag of this enoki intended to be sold to an individual, but as you can see, it's already colonized pretty much all the way. We'll probably fruit this one before it makes it to an individual. Same with this one, this reishi. This one actually I use as a display. It's been a pretty good display for a little bit, and we still got some more time with it, obviously. But this was a ready to grow bag, that just kind of, outgrew the shelf and didn't make it to someone else, so now it's a display. So most of the stuff that we actually grow in-house is either ready to grow bags that have not found a home before they need to grow, or they are grain to substrate transfers like this one right here, this Hen of the Woods. That being said, it really doesn't make a difference to me how I'm fruiting them, whether I did grain to substrate or ready to grow bags. They all fruit the same for me. It does help with the time, because the ready to grow bags, you've got to imagine they have to colonize the grain and then colonize the substrate, which can take a lot longer than if you've already got colonized grain and you're transferring that to substrate. So if we want to slow down our our growing time frame, we can focus more on ready to grow bags, hope that those get sold to individuals, and then also have enough extra to where when they don't, we don't have to worry about doing grain to substrate transfers. So they can be helpful in a lot of different ways for us, being like a small developing mushroom business. They really help us have a lot more control over the time frame. So generally, we keep our grain spawns here. We keep our substrates here. We keep our ready to grow bags and our transferred grain to substrate bags here. And then as they get to the fruiting stage, like these are all reishi. As they get to the fruiting stage, we move them over here where we can keep a better eye on them. It's a shorter, more narrow shelf, so we don't pack them as far back like these. So we can watch them more closely and move them in to the grow tent more quickly without forgetting one, because sometimes one does get forgotten way at the back. That being said, let's get into the fruiting chamber, kind of see what it looks like for us to actually fruit these things. So this fruiting chamber's come a long way, and we're doing a lot of experimenting with what works, what doesn't work. So as you can see, we've got a little bit of everything, and it's a little crazy. So let me see if I can kind of line this up to look. So we have our exhaust. I know we have a filter on our exhaust. It's not really necessary. We do that to slow the exhaust down because our exhaust is faster than our intake. That being said, we do generally cycle this, but for the most part, it stays running all the time unless something gets unaligned with the intake and exhaust. We have our humidifier coming through, goes all the way through, and we've actually got ports for the humidity to come out at different locations. As that humidity condenses at the end of this run, comes down this tube into our secondary humidifier, where we've got an ultrasonic in there, and it looks like it's out of water. We've got an ultrasonic in there to supplement our humidity. At the moment, we've got a lot of stuff growing. We have, what do we got here? We've got some pohu, we've got lion's mane, we've got bear's head, we've got, let's see, that's a really nice coral tooth right there. We've got some shiitakes. I have never gotten shiitake to fruit yet, so I'm trying all different types of configurations of cutting the bags and to getting these to fruit. I've got this one shiitake right here that's all nicely browned. I know that's not usually a good sign for most mushrooms, but from what I've heard, that's what you want to see with the shiitake. We've got golden oyster, namiko, enoki, pink oyster, and we've got reishi in here that we're trying a bunch of different things out. So 90% of our liquid cultures we have not actually fruited yet. We've grown cultures, we've grown grain spawns, and we've made ready to grow bags, but most of them are so new to us, we haven't even actually fruited them yet. So That's what we're working on now, is getting all of these to fruit. We've even got over here our cordyceps, which, you know, we're trying cordyceps in bags, and it's not working. They are not growing for us. We're getting great colonization, but I'm not keeping my temperatures right, and I'm not keeping my lighting right. So I'm getting failure with my cordyceps, but that's okay. We're learning. We're gonna figure out the recipe and the growth parameters that work for us and the strain that we have, and then we'll be rocking and rolling. Moving on over to our equipment. So, as far as equipment goes, we started off with one Presto canner, one Presto pressure cooker. We started off with that 4 or 5 years ago. I got that. Since then, we've bought a second pressure cooker, exactly the same as that one. And we bought an electric pressure cooker that's slightly smaller. I really like the electric pressure cooker, but I've only used it like 3 times. As soon as we got the electric pressure cooker, we started having discussions about, do we want to have 7 different pressure cookers at once? Or do we want to spend on getting an autoclave? The difference would have been, to do the same amount of volume, it would have been about 8 pressure cookers. Those individually are like $150, $100 or so. So we could have spent easily like $1,000 on pressure cookers. And then we have to run them all, which takes a lot more effort. Or we could spend 3 times that, have the same size in an autoclave, and take all of the guesswork out, all of the monitoring it while it's cooking out. And so with the autoclave, I love it. We just load it up, press the button, and it goes. It beeps when it's done, and that's it. I don't have to do anything else. This is our autoclave. Very big. So this is a 150 liter autoclave I got from Midwest Grow Kits. I will say, getting the autoclave was a bit of a point of contention among my brothers and I. It was a very large purchase, and as you can see, it's massive. That's only one basket. There's 2 baskets in there. It holds about 5 gallons of water. You can run it, we can fill it up with the 5 gallons or so, and we can run it probably 5-10 times before we even need to put more water in. It's so efficient. It's so much easier. The hardest part about it is loading it up. But yeah, we were really conflicted about getting it or not getting it. I'm glad we did. We got it at a good time before prices changed and shipping changed, and so luckily we did go ahead and bite the bullet and do it. Frankly, the only thing I would have done different is spend another $500 and get the 180 liter instead of 150 liter. That being said, it was really difficult to get this set up. So it runs on a dryer plug. We actually had it set up in the garage for the first few months with it, and we were running it. We would unplug the dryer, plug in the autoclave, run it, and then plug the dryer back in whenever we wanted to use it. That wasn't good for a number of reasons. Obviously, we don't want to be unplugging and replugging these large appliances all the time, but also where it's in the garage. So as soon as we open it, we're in a relatively unclean environment, and our bags are not sealed in the autoclave to keep them from bursting. I used to try to seal them before, and I would have like a 70% success rate. But now with not sealing them, we get pretty much 99% of the bags make it through without any punctures or bursting. But we take them out of the autoclave immediately, either pour grain into them, inoculate or colonized grain, or we seal them for a later date, like those ones on the shelf. You can't do that in the garage because you've got dirty air trying to rush into these hot bags. So in here, we have a lot more control over the air. We have a lot more control over how clean it is in here. So we can take them straight out of the autoclave, go straight into our still air hood, and seal them up. This still air hood was actually a bigger version of one of these plastic cabinets. I cut it in half, put it on its side, we hang the door open, and that's what we have here. I really like this. I thought about incorporating like a fan and filter to try to make like a little makeshift BSC, biosecurity cabinet. I haven't done that for a couple of reasons. I don't see enough contamination to really warrant going through that trouble. I don't really have enough plugs, electrical outlets to do that. And I'm not confident that it would really make a big enough difference just due to the layout of this room and the way the airflow is in here. I don't think that I can get a consistent laminar flow out of this setup and the location in the room. I think I'd have to rearrange pretty much the whole room to be able to do that, and I don't want to do that. So we haven't. And it works fine for us. We get less than 5% contamination. Maybe like, maybe like 1 to 3% contamination. Like I'm actually looking at a bag right here that is definitely contaminated. So this one right here, this is a shiitake. And you can see very clear contamination. Actually just noticed it this morning. And then, on the other side, we can see very clear, strong growth. I'm not going to throw it away, per se. I'm going to put it outside, and, we'll see how it grows. But I'm definitely not going to keep it in my grow room. That being said, out of all of these bags, that's the only contaminated one that I've seen in like a week. What we see more often is no growths, so all of these bags right here are no growths. I found these 2, 4, 6 bags last night. I'm not even confident that they're no growths. Sometimes I'm inoculating so fast that I think I miss bags. I label them, I put them back on the shelf, but I don't think I actually injected them with any liquid culture, because all of those are ready to grow bags. And then some of them I can see very clearly, like this one has the hole in the port. I did inject it. Now, did I get a bad selection of liquid culture? Like when I drew it up, did I have not enough mycelium in there and we just have really, really slow growth deep in the middle of this block? Probably. That's most likely what's going on. But I inoculated this January 8th. It's February 20-something, 24th. I should have seen something by now. So what I will more likely do is inoculate these bags again, most likely with a different strain, and just see what happens, because why not, right? I'm not going to re-sterilize them. I'm not going to take up the space in the autoclave, and I'm not going to just throw them away, but I also don't want to cut them open, remix it into another batch of substrate, and do them again like that either. So the easiest thing for me to do is to re-inject them, see if something happens, and then go to further steps. Can you hear my cat going crazy? Stevie, stop. So yeah, moving on to like the harvesting, drying, packaging, all that stuff. We do have our food manufacturer license, our food license. So we do have our food license right here, prominently displayed. prominently. And, we harvest everything right over here. And then anything that looks unsavory, just, misformed, deformed growth, things like that, we put straight into the dehydrator. Anything that doesn't sell by the time it's starting to lose its luster, we also put into the dehydrator. So we dehydrate quite a lot. Like right here, we've got oyster mushrooms, we've got lion's mane. So we do a lot of dehydrated. We used to do a lot of powders, grinding them up. We don't do that very much anymore. Why? The powders are a lot of work. There is some value added, but the amount of work on the scale that we are to create the powders is very intensive. I don't like all the dust. I have to wear a mask. I just don't like it. We used to want to do capsules. These are lion's mane capsules that we made. We have one of these capsule makers. These things are pretty hard to find, actually. You would think they'd be kind of simple, but no, they're kind of difficult to find. And that only does 100 capsules at a time. Now, you can imagine if we were selling quite a bit of capsules, doing 100 at a time really isn't much. I mean, we make capsules for ourselves to use, and to make 100 capsules with that thing maybe takes me like almost 5 minutes to do the whole process, opening each capsule, loading it up, and then packaging them. It's about 5 minutes to do it. I would much rather dry them, sell them as a whole dried mushroom, and if somebody wants to grind them up at home and make their own supplements, that's great. For us, it's not... This cat. What do you want? We don't get enough sales through that to really warrant doing it. Look at this little freak. So that's why we don't focus on that at the moment. Things may change. We'll see. But for now, that's where we're at. Moving on. Out here. Let's get out here. Come on, Stevie. Come on. Get out. Okay. Moving on to the outside. So that's where we do all of the growing. And this actually used to be our grow room. That's why it's all white. This used to be our grow room. It's actually right off the kitchen. And it's not a bad grow room. I actually built this wall myself. But it's not big enough. It's just not big enough. It was actually really perfectly set up because we've got a window. We can control temperature really well in here. It's a lot more stable climate in there. So we have a lot more control in there, but we just don't have the space in there. So that's why we moved out of there. Into the garage. We used to keep the autoclave right there. We don't anymore, like I explained. But we keep all of our bulk products, all of our dry products out here before anything that's not been sterilized yet. So we've got millet for days. We've got soy hull pellets for days, and then even more millet and soy hulls. So we were buying millet by the bag originally, and it was very cost prohibitive. So we ended up getting a pallet. Soy hull pellets, same thing. Getting them by the bag off of like Amazon or something, very expensive. We went ahead, bit the bullet, and bought a pallet of them. It was worth it. Was it a pain in the ass? Yes. Would I do it again? Yes. Because we now have enough millet and soy hulls to be pumping them out for, the next couple months. And we got these a few months ago. We got these pallets. So it was definitely worth it as far as saving trips to the feed store, making sure you have stuff on hand, that was a big problem. It was one thing to buy things as needed. It's another thing to go to buy things as needed and not find them. Right here, we actually got, this is chaff from coffee beans. So I've got some friends who run a coffee roastery. That is a waste product for them. They gave us some to try to experiment with and see if it's suitable to be used as a supplement for the mushroom substrate, almost like a bran or something. And so we haven't actually made any of those yet. We just got it last week, so we're gonna be doing some tests with those soon, making some new substrate bags. We've got our vermiculite, cocoa coir, all that good stuff. And then moving on to out here. So we used to do all of our boiling, sterilizing, everything we did on the stovetop. We obviously do not have the room in the kitchen to do that anymore. We actually use this. This is a Blackstone that my neighbors threw away. There was like a hole in the gas line and the top is all rusted. So I took the top off, swapped out the gas line, and now it works great as a 2-burner propane burner. And we actually run this big guy. This is a brew kettle meant for making beer, but we use it for our millet. We'll soak the millet in there. We can do like 20, 30 pounds in there easily. We can fit quite a bit of millet. So with that one, the turkey pot, and with this one, the brew kettle, we can do a full 50-pound bag of millet in one night and be done. And it makes it a lot simpler. Draining it is a lot simpler. That was the hardest part of making grain spawn, was not the soaking the grain, but the draining it. It's a lot of work. I have to do a lot of lifting, a lot of dumping, and a lot of stacking of colanders, and I don't even have enough colanders to drain 50 pounds of millet anymore. This thing has a double filter in the bottom, a spigot for it to drain out, and then I also use like a brew bag, a strainer bag inside of it, just to make it even easier. So the cleanup's easier, it's so much more efficient. It was like $150. It was definitely worth it. As far as making our substrate, so we went ahead and got a 4 cubic foot concrete mixer. It saves my back so much. I used to mix everything by hand with a paint mixer in Rubbermaid totes. It was so hard, it took so long, and I could only do so much at a time. Using this, I can make enough bags, I can make enough substrate to fill up half of that autoclave in like 15 minutes. So I can have bags for that autoclave made, filled, and loaded within an hour. 2 dozen, which is a big improvement on how long it used to take before. Down here, we've got, this is our bag filling station. So actually, I put it up on the table when we're using it. But so I built this, and what it is, it's some scrap pieces of shelving that I rigged up. I cut these holes, made these bends, and then I added these duct pieces. And then what I do, I slide my bag on. I use the magnets to hold the bag on there. I built this funnel too. And we weigh out our substrate, dump it in, boom, 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 done. Now we've got our substrate bag. I can do 3 at a time. I used to just fill them up by hand, individually. And then I actually had built this funnel and hung it up at a certain position where I could, you know, attach each bag to the funnel and do it like that, a little bit cleaner. And then I just got real frustrated one day and said, this is taking too long, and I built that. And it saves, so it does 3 at a time, but it's not 3 times faster. I think it's about 10 times faster than how I used to fill them. It would take me half an hour to fill, it would take me about three minutes or so to fill a bag. Now it takes me about 30 seconds to fill a bag. We got one of these little electric mulchers to make our wood chips finer. And then right here we've got just some bags that I put outside because it recently was really cold and I wanted to see how some of these different varieties would do. They were already colonized. I wanted to see how they would do fruiting in the cold outside with these varying temperatures versus being in the grow room. I haven't seen anything yet. They've been out here for about a week, so we'll see. And then over here, we've got our wood chips. I actually got these off of Chip Drop, which is a service where arborists, they have obviously wood chips as a waste product for them. They have to pay the city to dump them. They pay a smaller price to Chip Drop to find a house that wants them. Houses can offer a donation to make it faster. I did, just because why not? I paid $40 in a donation and requested only oak. So this is all just oak wood chips. And they brought a literal ton. Like, it was the size of about 2 cars in the driveway. Giant mound. We've used not even a quarter of it. Most of it, this is not even half of it that's in this container. Most of it we've spread around the pond, we spread up front in the garden beds just to get it out of the driveway. The biggest issue with this was sifting, getting all these big branches out and getting to the easy fine stuff before we start grinding everything. What I did for that, this actually used to be a cage for a number of different animals. I've had rabbits, lizards, chickens, squirrels. I've had everything in here that you can think of, quails. So this cage has definitely served its service. But now that we no longer keep any animals in here, I took the door off and I put it right here so I can actually swing it up out of the way if I want to. But my yard cart fits perfectly underneath there. I can shovel out onto here, sift it around, scoop off the big stuff back into there, and then the yard cart's full. I can roll it over here and start doing our mixing for the substrate. It's made a big difference too. Just making these little changes like that. Anything that you're gonna do twice, find a way to make it easier. But so, you know, we've done a lot of growing, we've done a lot of changes, and there's still a lot of changes to come. This is our second year operating. This is the first year we've actually made any money. We got like a couple friends and family sales last year, but nothing substantial, probably not even a couple $100. As of January, we broke $500 in January, which was really, really exciting. The first time that we had actually seen any outside money come in and any repeat customers, and any commercial customers. So made a big difference in, frankly, the morale of my brothers and I, seeing some small successes here and there. And now we're at the point where we are consistently putting out 5, 10, 15 pounds a week. We could have been at 20, 40 pounds a week, you know, a year ago. But we wanted to focus more on where we're going to sell them before we actually have them, my concern was I don't want to throw away mushrooms because I can't sell them. So we've actually been holding back really hard, like restraining ourselves from producing too much. We have the capability to do an easy 20, 40, 50 pounds a week. We just aren't doing that because we don't sell that much fresh mushrooms. So that's the challenge now, is finding the sales, finding the sources to that, the revenue streams, and really finding these mushrooms homes. We've had more success recently with like growing kits, and the dried things have been more stable for us, but the fresh ones are really what we want to break into at this point, especially since we've got our food license now, we've got our insurance now, we've got all these things that to be legal, and to be sustainable. So that's what we're trying to do with these restaurants, these grocery stores. And it's tough, getting out there trying to sell people things that they don't know about or that they already have sources for. Everybody's got portobellos, so trying to sell them on lion's mane when they're not even familiar with what that is or know how good it is really difficult, but it's something that we're working through, and it's really all about information. So yeah, I'm excited. We've got a lot more work to do, and there's a lot more to come, but like, follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Go check out our website. It's champignons. We're at www.champignons.com. I really like it. Let me know if it seems cumbersome or you don't like the layout or something that you would change. If you have input for me, definitely let me know, because we're always making changes. We're always learning where we're doing something wrong. Most of our successes so far have come from something that we're doing wrong and learning from that rather than just getting it right the first time. There's been almost nothing that we've done right the first time. So that's nice too. It takes a lot of the pressure off. But, at that, I will leave you guys. I'm going to get back in here to my kitties. But thank you for watching. Subscribe. Go check out our website, our Facebook, Instagram. We've got all the pictures of the stuff we grow. So thank you.